So did you know that evening glass of wine or the occasional cigarette could be fueling your IBD symptoms? See, most people don't realize how deeply smoking and alcohol impact your gut inflammation, flare-ups, and the overall disease progression. So in today's episode, I wanted to dive into the science behind it and why smoking can make symptoms worse, how alcohol affects permeability, and what steps you can take to make better choices without having to feel deprived. If you're managing IBD and you want to feel your best, you gotta stay tuned. Hey friend, welcome to Gut Fix. Are you ready to finally get rid of those debilitating digestive symptoms? Do you catch yourself staying up late Googling things like, what can I eat? Or how do I stop a flare? Or maybe you're just lying awake wondering, how did this ever happen to me? I'm Wendy, and I've been exactly where you are, desperately searching for answers, but determined to find natural solutions. And like you, I was overwhelmed by all the conflicting information out there and unsure of what might really work for me. And so now in this podcast, I'm here to share with you what I've learned, how to listen to your body's signals, and uncover the common mistakes that might be standing in the way of your healing. So grab your favorite drink, pop in your earbuds, and let's dive into your health transformation together. Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Gut Fix. So today I wanted to talk about a very touchy topic, I guess, for some people, and that is alcohol and its effect on the gut, and especially for those with IBD. And if you still happen to smoke, how that affects as well. You know, when I was battling IBD back in the day, when I would have an occasional glass of wine, I thought that it wasn't doing anything. I thought it didn't make any difference in my symptoms. And I was eating right. I was taking my supplements. I was following all the right steps. But every time I had a single drink, I noticed that I would feel very bloated. I would feel fatigued. And I would have digestive discomfort the whole next day, sometimes even 2 days. And once I removed the alcohol, I started to notice a huge improvement. And many people assume and use the motto, everything in moderation, right? And they assume that that applies to alcohol and smoking as well when you're dealing with gut issues or IBD. But for those of us who do suffer, even small amounts can have a very significant impact. And when you understand how these substances affect the gut, then you can help make better informed choices. And so, there are, smoking, there are a couple of things with the smoking aspect of it and how it affects your gut. So smoking increases inflammation and alters your immune function. And you know that if you suffer from IBD, inflammation is at the root of what's causing your discomfort and your symptoms. And also, it's an autoimmune disease, so altering the immune function, not a good thing either, right? It also reduces oxygen flow to tissues, and that makes it so much harder for the gut to heal. It can also change the gut microbiome and help those harmful bacteria grow and causing that dysbiosis in the gut. Now, the effects of alcohol on IBD, which is probably more prevalent, if you will. So alcohol overall, even if you don't have IBD, it increases your gut permeability, and that can lead to leaky gut, as we've talked about in previous episodes. And when you have leaky gut, that allows the toxins and bacteria to possibly enter the bloodstream, and that will trigger systemic inflammation or inflammation in your colon. It also alters the gut microbiome. And what it does is it actually kills the beneficial bacteria or the good bacteria, and it allows the bad or harmful bacteria to thrive. So again, you're getting that dysbiosis. Alcohol also irritates the gut lining, and that can trigger diarrhea, pain, bloating, all of the symptoms that people that with IBD suffer with. And there is a connection between alcohol and flare-ups. So there's been studies that show that alcohol consumption is linked to higher inflammation markers in people with IBD. So if you're familiar with the GI map, one of the inflammation markers is calprotectin. And if you are in an active flare, that might be, extremely high. And even small amounts of alcohol can lead to dehydration. And when you're dehydrated, and that can cause all of those symptoms to be worse. For those that binge drink or drink a lot, or frequently, I should say, that increases the risk of a flare-up. And some, there are some alcoholic drinks that are better than others. But, really realistically, when I'm working with somebody, like I said, whether it doesn't really matter if they're dealing with gut issues or IBD specifically, that's one thing that really needs to be eliminated in order for healing to happen. Beer contains gluten. So, gluten can be very sensitive, can be a trigger for a lot of people with IBD. So even one beer can be a trigger that day or, a day later, 2 days later, because, sensitivities and gluten sensitivity as well may show up a couple of days later. Some people think that red wine is healthier because of its antioxidants, but it still affects your gut bacteria, eliminating good bacteria, and it still increases inflammation. Hard liquor is probably the most damaging, and it's because it's highly inflammatory. And it also, hard liquor also dehydrates the body quickly. So those are all bad things. But, some people think red wine is better, but the truth is, when you're in a flare or if you have IBD and it's not under control, you really need to eliminate alcohol for a period of time. Some people forever. I never ever picked up alcohol really since then. And why does alcohol affect people with IBD differently? Well, first of all, as you know, and I've said it many, many times in other episodes, is everybody's different. So everybody's triggers are different, everybody's causes are different, and everybody's symptoms are different. So, that it stands to reason that alcohol also affects people with IBD differently. Some people tolerate a small amount occasionally. Others might have a drink and have immediate symptoms. It just depends. And so by eliminating it altogether, if you want to try to reintroduce, you can do that. That's, entirely up to you, and see how that affects you. The frequency and the type and the quantity of alcohol also plays a big role. So, if it's every day, for example, if it's, every other day, or if it's frequently, or it depends on the type of alcohol as well. The overall state of your gut health, again, whether you're in an active flare or if you're in remission, that's going to make a huge difference as well. So, you want to be sure that you're making healthier choices. So, if you're a smoker, first of all, probably eliminate smoking. There's not really that many around left. I think there's so many people that have quit smoking. But you want to focus on a replacement strategy. So, when you feel like you want to have a cigarette, or, think about having maybe an herbal tea. Think about doing maybe some deep breathing or some other kind of stress relief that works for you. Because typically, when a smoker grabs for a cigarette, it's because they're under a bit of stress. And sometimes it's just habit. But also you want to address the triggers. So notice when you do that. Is it the stress? Is that what causes you to grab for a cigarette? Or is it just the habit? And if it is, then you can adjust it accordingly. Now, if you're a drinker, you really want to set yourself a limit. So reducing the frequency, obviously, is, and this is, once again, after you have eliminated it and gotten healthy and gotten yourself under control. But if you're going to reintroduce it, reduce the frequency, or, you might think about even switching to lower alcohol alternatives. Or, mocktails are a big thing now, and they're really quite tasty. You might not even miss the alcohol part of it, right? You also want to make sure that if you are going to have alcohol, that you stay hydrated, because alcohol naturally dehydrates the body. So drink plenty of water before, during, and after having alcohol. Also, mixing alcohol with sugary mixes, that can really worsen your inflammation. So, just cut the sugary mixes out. Also, some of the healthier alternatives to alcohol that would not trigger a flare could be, and some people cannot, with IBD, cannot handle sparkling water. But it is a good alternative if you can. And, add a little lemon, lime, orange, something to flavor it. Also, herbal teas like ginger, peppermint, chamomile, they all help to aid in digestion. So, instead of grabbing a glass of wine or a drink, grab, a herbal tea. Also, when you're out in public and you're in a social situation, make sure that if you are going to an event that you can, bring your own non-alcoholic drink. That way you're assured that you have something to drink. You can be social and have that in your hand, and just be normal. If you're quitting smoking, replace the habit with something else. So, again, deep breathing, sipping some tea, even try some chewing gum for a period of time. And always communicate with your friends. Let them know, especially for social situations, let them know that you're making these choices for your health. And that, if they notice that you're not having a drink, they're not going to be surprised. They're not going to bug you, because there's nothing worse than being there and it's somebody saying, hey, why don't you have a drink? It's kind of awkward. So make sure that you communicate that ahead of time so those awkward situations don't come up. So just to recap, and a couple of takeaways that you can hopefully take away are, smoking worsens Crohn's and increases your complications. Alcohol contributes to gut inflammation and disrupts the microbiome. Even small changes like cutting back, staying hydrated, finding alternatives, those can make a big difference in managing IBD symptoms. And, I would encourage you to start slow. Start one step at a time. If you're a regular drinker, try swapping alcohol for a gut-friendly alternative, 2 to 3 times out of the week. If you smoke, focus on reducing or quitting altogether. And if you're dealing with IBD and you're struggling to figure out, which lifestyles might be making your symptoms worse, I can help. Just book a free consultation with me at wendyhandy.com so that we can take a closer look at your habits, your triggers, and what changes will actually make a difference for you. So let's build a plan that fits your life and gets you feeling better naturally. So until next week, stay happy and stay healthy. Hey friend, I hope today's episode brought you some real value. If it did, would you take just 30 seconds to share it with a friend who might be struggling to get her gut in check? And if you're feeling extra generous, leave me a review on Apple. It absolutely lights me up knowing that this podcast is making a difference for you. All right, it's time for me to grab my protein shake and get my gut happy. I'll see you back here next Tuesday for another episode of Gut Fix. And until then, stay happy and stay healthy.